and welcome. Today we're going to learn how to frame cross stitch or embroidery art, any kind of art that's on fabric. So the first thing you're going to need is your finished work, your finished cross stitch or embroidery. In this case, you can see I've got a lot of extra space around the edges. You're going to need at least 2 inches of space all the way around to do this method. So once you've got your finished piece, you're gonna make sure that it's washed and any stains are out of it and that everything is showing up the way that you want to. Like I've got this little tassel here, I wanna make sure is fully down, and all these little French knots. Looks good to me. So the next thing we're gonna do is get rid of that, and we're gonna gather our materials. The first thing is going to be a framed canvas. In this case, I'm using an 11 by 14 inch canvas. It fits the thing I just got rid of. You can see that there's plenty of space on the sides. Now, the one thing you wanna look at when you are buying your canvas is basically the cheapest you can find, but also you wanna look for one that is just framed with the staples on the back. There are some that are thicker that have, they kind of go in and have like almost a rubber gasket running around. You don't want this. You want just the ones like this with the staples on them. So once you have that, you can go ahead and open it up. And then you'll need your other tools, which are going to be pliers and a screwdriver. Now what you're gonna do with these is flip this over, and you're gonna go ahead and start removing all of the staples on the back. It is okay, however you wanna remove them works. We are not going to be using this canvas. This is actually just gonna be thrown away. So sometimes if you can pull it up. In this case, these are really, really tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my screwdriver, and I'm just gonna push it underneath that staple to get some leverage, to get it up a bit. Now that it's up a little, you can see there, I'm gonna go ahead and use the pliers to pull that out, and then just set that to the side. You don't really need to worry about any splinters or anything as you go around. Just keep working to remove the staples. So at this point, just keep. A lot of times you're gonna get one side coming up and not the other side. That's why you want these pliers. You can just pull and twist all these staples out. After a while, you can pull this canvas out, but the staples are still in there. You do need to get those out. So don't leave any staples in the frame. Just keep pulling them out. One trick that I use, because you can see I've had surgery on my wrist, is I will actually put one of the pliers, the halves under the staple, the other on this side, and I will actually roll my hand, my whole hand, not my wrist, but my whole hand, and it actually makes it really easy to pull the staples out. So even if you're don't have the greatest grip or aren't super confident in your staple removing skills, this is still a really achievable thing to do. Now you'll see here I'm going like this. My stomach is this way. Don't do that. You will stab yourself. Ask me how I know. And it's okay if something like that happens where it just runs off. It's not a problem. Again, we're throwing this canvas away. So just keep pulling that out. And you can dig into the wood with the screwdriver. This is also going to be the back of your framed piece, so it doesn't matter if you've got these little divots. And just corners can be a little bit harder to do. Yeah, of course, that one was super easy. And you'll see we've actually totally gotten it off here. Now you will notice in some pieces there may be a bracing staple on the wood here, but it's not going through the canvas, so you can actually leave that. If there's a bracing staple going across these to hold them together, leave that. It's just the staples that are holding the canvas down that we want to remove. So now we've removed all of these, we can go ahead and remove this canvas. You can use it for painting on, give it to kids, cut it up, but we're not going to use this today. So then you've got your frame, you've got your staple holes on this side. This is going to be the back. So we're gonna go ahead and flip this over. And on this particular one, you'll see the staples that are holding it together are on the front, which is perfect. So we'll leave those in. We definitely need those. So now what we're going to do is get the rest of the staples out of our way. Now what we're going to do is grab our quilt batting and cut it to size. So you're gonna wanna cut it again with about a 2-inch, maybe 3-inch overlay on each side. This is just gonna make it easier to wrap it around. So I've got a huge piece of it here. You don't need any kind of special quilt batting. You can get synthetic, you can get acrylic, does not matter, but we're gonna go ahead and just lay this on top here. Go ahead and you can see the edge there and the edge there. I'm just gonna kind of center it between the two. And then I'm gonna wrap this. There's plenty of room to wrap that. So I'm gonna get about this much room on the other side. So about, say, here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just cut that. Fabric scissors work here. But if you don't have them, you can use regular scissors and just be incredibly patient. Okay, and throw that extra over there. So then we've got a bit all the way around. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and flip this so that the good side is facing the batting. Now, the reason for the batting is twofold. One, it's to hide any creases that you might get from the wood, like on the corners or the staples if they're sticking up. And two, it's actually so that you can't see through your finished piece. If you were to just put your finished piece, like in my case, it's a cross stitch, there's holes in the fabric, you can see through it really easily. And this will keep that from happening. So what we're gonna do now, the nice thing about this is that this particular step is you basically are just stapling it on. You don't have to make sure that it's straight or anything like that. You're just getting it done. So we're gonna take our staple gun, which I keep unloaded because it's a staple gun. And we're gonna go ahead and load our staples. Different staple guns require different staples. These are, this is what my staple gun requires. Really doesn't matter. This is not, you're not trying to do some huge crazy woodworking project. So really, even shallow ones will work. In this case, these load upside down. So we'll go ahead and just stick that in and load it up, possibly. Okay. All right. So now that that's loaded, we're going to go ahead and start stapling. Now, you can pick any side to start on. I'm going to go ahead and start on these short sides just for no reason other than I want to. So all I did was fold that over. I didn't pull it or anything. It's just firmly, snugly against this, but I'm not yanking it because this is just batting. It can rip pretty easily. So we're just gonna fold that over so you can see the outline of the frame right here. And then we're gonna go ahead and basically right in the center here, in the center this way and in the center this way, we're just gonna staple. You want to make sure when you're stapling, you're holding the staple gun level and that you are holding it right next to what you're stapling. Don't hold it up. Sometimes I've found that it's hard to just use one hand. I have kind of small hands, so it's easier to get leverage if you hold it like this. Sometimes I will actually hold it with one hand and push down with the other. Other times I'll stand up to use it. Whatever works for you. So we've got this one staple here. And then what we're gonna do is down here, see where this lines up, we're gonna staple it just above that. So right about here. So same thing, staple, middle, and there we go. Then we'll do the same thing up here. So just a little bit down from where that is, in the center this way. And there we go. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and turn this around and we're gonna do the same thing on this other side. However, this time, instead of just wrapping it, we're actually gonna tug it a little bit so that it's nice and firm. You can see in here there's a lot of just kind of excess. We're gonna pull it a little tight, just a little, and then this is right in the middle. Staple. And then at the bottom, we'll tug it over a little bit. You can just keep this so that it's straight and you're fine. So we've got the edge right here. We'll go a little bit above that. And then same thing up here. Just pull it, not tight, but just taut. Okay, so then we got both of those sides done. Now what we're gonna do is the other sides. So we're gonna fold this back, expose the corner, and go ahead and fold this down. Now again, we're gonna hold this not tight, but just a little tighter than if it was just sitting there on its own, because we'll still have to do the bottom. But we're gonna again do halfway between either side. This time the staple's going this way before it was going this way. So whatever the side is, change it so it's going that way. And then same thing over here, see where that edge is, and just go a little bit in. I'm gonna pull it. I'm using my left arm to actually hold this down, to hold both the frame and the batting down. It just makes it a little easier. So, and then same thing here. Make sure this is smooth. Here's the edge right here. So we're gonna go over here. There we go. And you end up with this kind of weird cape thing happening. That's okay. So then we'll do the last side, pull that off, fold that over. And now this time, as we did on the second wall, you're gonna get rid of fuzz, but then you're gonna pull this pretty taut. You can see like this is kind of loose. I'm gonna pull this much less loose. And then you're gonna get it in the middle between both sides. And then again, just a bit in, pulling taut. Now you can see here, it's up a bit. I did not have it flat. You can do two things. One, you can pull it out and do it again, or you could hammer it in. Since I don't want to hammer on this table, I just pull it out and perfect. Then we'll do it over here. Pull this taut and there we go. All right, so we've got all four sides done and we've got these kind of interesting corners happening. So the corners, you're gonna do a little bit of folding magic. It looks very cool in the end. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna have, it doesn't matter which side faces you, but just pick a corner and have, so I have the long side facing me, and I'm going to fold this down. So if you see here, this side is out of the way and this side is down. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna staple right there in the middle. And then I'm gonna fold it back over and staple essentially on top of that. Now I'm going to basically go almost like folding it like this. You're gonna kind of go like you're doing this, but you're gonna roll it a little bit further. So it's pulling from the corner. The excess is pulling right from the corner. And you're gonna staple it down at an angle. If it doesn't work, just try it again and make sure you're pushing down. So that's good. And we're just gonna leave that for now. So then, same thing over here. So you're gonna staple there, fold it all the way over, and staple through both layers. Oops. And then you're gonna pull this back and have that center pull right over from the corner. And there we go. Again, just leave this up. So we're gonna keep doing that all the way around. Again, it doesn't matter which side you fold first. It doesn't matter which side you fold second. We're just securing this. So when this is folded, you grab this and you just pull that straight down and then staple. And then last one. This kind of gets you familiar with the staple gun. If you've not used one before, or if you're a little nervous about stapling through your project, this will get you familiar with it, so you're not as scared. Okay, so then we've got these little bits. So now what we're gonna do is one of two things. If you have a really big frame, this one's only 11 by 14, but if you have a huge frame, like I've done this for ones that are 20 by 30, you're gonna wanna go ahead and secure this batting on the inside here. And it's really simple. You would just you basically lay your staple gun down, pull it tight, and staple. It's really nice and it's really easy because you literally are setting the staple gun on the table or on the surface, and it perfectly staples. So if you have a big one, the bigger your frame, the more staples you should put in there. I'm gonna go ahead and just do one on each side now that I've started, and then we'll clean up the corners. The corners need to be cleaned up regardless of the size. So, okay, so I've got all those done. Now we're gonna do the corners. Doesn't matter which one you start on. You're going to take this and you're gonna have kind of a folded bit and a flat bit, and you're just gonna flatten those out and you're gonna staple into that side just like we did with that a second ago. And that's just to secure this down. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that in there. And this, you wanna kind of really tug at the fabric actually, like really have it firmly held in there before you staple. As you can see, there's a staple here and there's a staple there. We're gonna go ahead and do that for all four corners. Some of them, you can see where your little fold is, it's over here. Just, again, you're just gonna pull that, flatten that out, and staple it down. Okay, you can see here, this one didn't work, so we'll do it again. Just wanna make sure it's all pulled down really firmly. Get your fingers out of the way, and then push it into the frame. Still didn't work. Now, if that's the case, if it's still not working, you can see there's a lot of layers in here. So I'm actually gonna kind of get in there and move that. So I'm just stapling those two layers. Perfect. A good way to test if they're in there, literally just pull this. If they come out, try it again. So okay, here, again, fold that out, pull that, pull it down, and staple, staple. All right. And one left. Don't forget as you're doing this to really pull everything taut. This is your base layer, so if you get stuff wrong on this layer, your next layer is not going to look as nice. All right, so we've got this. So now the next step is actually kind of fun. You're going to kind of basically cut off the excess. I'm just going to cut this off. Nothing fancy, just cutting these corners off so they're not in my way. You can get real specific and real detailed and make it, you know, get really close in there, but it doesn't matter. And then this is kind of a big flap. These ones are okay, but this is kind of big. So I'm actually gonna go in and cut off about an inch or so, which is totally fine. You don't want to go hang it up and have it just everything flop out. So that's the back, and then we're gonna flip it over, and there's the front. And if you can notice, you kind of can see through this. So here's where the wood is, and here's where you can see through. So that is gonna help us, this fabric is gonna help us not see through the finished product. So, all right, so there's more garbage. So now what we're gonna do is bring this back. So I am going to just lay it on here. It's on the good side, remember. And what you're gonna do is just kind of pinch the corners so you can see where it is, pinch the corners at the top, lay it out in a way that you want it. I tend to like a little space around mine, and also to not have all the cat fur on it, but I like a little bit of like white space on the edges, which is why I got this size. You can get any size you want. And I bought this frame in particular at Michael's. However, I've gotten them online at Amazon. I've bought them from thrift stores before. Goodwill's a good resource because even if they're finished, you can just take the canvases off and use the frame. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of eyeball how far this is from the edge. So this is a little less than 2 fingers. This is more than 2 fingers. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of pull that over. Try to keep the whole thing square. So that's a little over 2, a little over 2. Yeah, so this is square. I'm okay with how this is laid out. So then what we're gonna do, you're gonna pick the whole thing up and you're gonna hold this and then kind of fold this under and then just flip it. Now, you don't wanna move it around too much because you've got your fancy cross stitch, the good side is on the table. If you have a towel or fabric or something to put down under it, I recommend that. I did not think ahead enough today to do that. So now what we're gonna do is basically really similar to what we did with this. We're gonna go ahead and just fold this over, and you can see through where the other staple was. So we're gonna go on either side of that. We really need to make sure this is secured well, so we're gonna be putting a lot more staples. So I'm actually pulling it. The staple from the old one is here. My fingers are on either side of it. I'm gonna go ahead and on either side, staple that. Now, instead of continuing all the way up, I'm gonna go ahead and on the other side, pull that, and I am going to, again, I'm gonna pull really, really taut on this. You don't wanna stretch it too much, but you know, use your fingers, pull it so that it's not going to flail around. Here's the staple. So we're gonna go on either side. There we go. And it's okay that these staples, like this staple is kind of off to the side a little, this one's a bit up. It's okay, they're relatively close. So now that we've got those two stapled, we can go back and finish all the staples on this and the opposite side. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use my arm, I'm holding this down. this is where the corner is, so I'm gonna do inside that a bit and actually up a bit. So I'm getting a lot more staples on this than I did before. Make sure when you're pulling, you're not pulling this way. You want to pull this way. You want to pull to make it taut. Whoops, and that one did not work at all. So we'll go ahead and, oh, I'm out of staples. Be careful when you're reloading your staples. I have had a staple stapled through my finger before, so be very careful. Okay, so then do this one more time. Ta-da, perfect. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up. At this point, you can pick it up and turn it because it's stapled in enough places. You don't have to slide it. And we're gonna go ahead and staple once, staple twice, staple once, staple twice. Now this one isn't as in as I would like it, but it just depends. Again, I'm gonna pull mine out again. You could also just use a hammer. So, okay, so we've got all those staples. So now what I'm gonna do, before we go any farther, flip this over, and I'm gonna go ahead and tuck under this excess, because then I can see what this is really gonna look like. Is it square? Is it where I want it to be? Because at this point, it'd be fairly easy to go in there, pull those staples out. They're not in that far. You could get them out with your needle nose pliers. I'm happy with this. I think this is good. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip it back over. And then what we're gonna do is the other two sides. So again, we're gonna kind of leave these corners for the last. So pull up your one side, again, not tight, but just taut. You've got your first staples in the middle there, so you're gonna go just to the left and just to the right of that. Then turn this around, and then since you're doing the opposite side, pull it a little bit more taut than you did the other side. That staple's right there in the middle. We're gonna go, oops, we're gonna go to the left and to the right of it. All right, so now we're gonna put one more staple. You can see right here, the other staples here, and you just put a staple here. So we're gonna go halfway between that, keeping it taut the whole time. Same thing, you got one here, so we're gonna go in between that, and then we're gonna do the corners. This is a little different than the previous one. So what we're gonna do now, you've got this whole envelope right here. You're gonna take the middle part and you're gonna pull it straight down over the corner, from the edge of the corner straight down. And you're gonna see where your staple is, it's right here. Go just a little above or behind that. Okay. You're stapling through a lot now, so make sure you're holding it like level and you're stapling it steadily. So we've got that folded, and then you're gonna fold this top part down. This is gonna go over it, that's down. This is gonna go over it, and this is a little round. You're gonna kind of massage it in there so it's not up against the edge, it's down a little bit, and you're gonna staple that down. Same thing with the other side, down, okay? Then you're gonna go around and do the same thing. Now, if you want to do more staples to hold this whole thing down, you can. I plan on going back at the end and cutting this off. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this, again, fold these up and out of the way. You're just gonna pull that straight down from the center and staple it down. If this is not secure when you do this, you can put another staple in it, either above or below that. Just you wanna stay away from the very edges because you will be able to see that. So then we're gonna take this side and tuck that up and then pull this there. Now, as you see, as you're pulling, you can see where you're folds are on the side. So if you don't like the way it looks, you can kind of pull it in a different direction. So I'm gonna push this up here and then pull this there and staple down. Now that did not go in all the way. I'm gonna pull that out. We really want these in securely. So I'm gonna pull that, pull this, and then there we go. That's nice and secure, okay? And then again, if you want more staples down to hold this down, you can totally do that. That is up to you. I'm actually not loving how this is laying, so I'm gonna go ahead and put another staple up here just to hold that down. So nobody will see this, it's the back. So then get this, pull that tight, staple. That is a mess. Pull that out. Look where the staple is below it, which I did not. So the staple's right here. We're gonna go up a bit. There we go. And then fold that in and pull this over. There we go. Fold this side in, pull it over, staple. So, and then last one, fold this over, and staple. And pull this. Make sure everything is flat before you staple. Just save you a lot of time. Now this one looks like it's not in, but because there's a bunch of stuff under it, it actually is. You can pull on these to see how well stuff is in there. And in that case, you'll see it's actually totally fine. Now here, I wanna make sure this edge, this like orange isn't showing. So I'm kind of pulling it in quite a bit. And my staple didn't quite work. So I'm gonna fold this back over. Actually, no, I'm going to pull this out. So we're gonna just pull this out because I did not like how that worked. So you can see there's a little bit of a hole, but it's not bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah, there we go. That's much better. Pull that, staple. Then I'm gonna throw one more up here just so it stays. All right, so now all we've got left to do is scissors and cut off the excess. You could also staple stuff down if you wanted to. You could staple down this fabric. Again, if you're using a large frame, something over, say, like 16 by 20 or bigger, you definitely want to staple all this down on the inside. So we're going to go ahead and actually do some of that. If you recall, last time we stapled in the middle. So now I'm going around it. You can see staples there. You don't really have to pull anything tight at this point. You just have to make sure that it's there for the staple to go through. And again, I am resting the stapler on the table to do this. It's very nice. So. Oops. See, that didn't go in, so we'll try that again. That one did not want to go in, but the nice thing is that's on the inside. That's on the inside and it's extra, so it doesn't matter. So we're gonna just leave that. It helps if you put your thumb here. If you're stapling this towards this way, if you put your thumb here, you're pushing them together, so you get a much better result. All right, and then the last thing you can do is, if you really want, you could staple these corners down. I generally don't. I usually just cut across. If you feel like it's really not as secure as you want it, you can put more staples down, or you can use like Mod Podge or something on the back. Just keep in mind it's the back, so it's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. And then after you cut, you may find that you want to trim more or staple more. That is totally okay. I'm gonna staple this down because it's just kind of coming up and that's annoying to me. It's okay. And then go ahead and cut this one off. That looks fine to me. And cut this off. So then what you can do a couple of things for hanging. You can get like a tooth hanger and nail it in, or you can get those Velcro like command strips and actually use your staple gun to staple one of them onto here, and then where it will stay, and then attach the other one, and you can attach it to a wall. I really like that method actually, because then you can move it, you don't have to make holes. The longer you sit here with it, the longer you will find things to do to it. Yeah, so then you just go ahead and flip it over, voila. It is framed. You can take this piece if you want to get it actually put in a frame as opposed to just mounted on a frame. You can take this piece to any framing store and they can do that for you. And this will be a lot cheaper than if you take them just the piece of cloth. But fuzzies. I do love hanging stuff just like this because you can see all the texture and like the cool little elements of it, whereas behind glass, not so much. Great. So hopefully you've learned something from this. Hopefully it gives you an excuse to break out your staple gun and get creative. Good luck.